Salutations! It's been a while since my last overview of Halo Reach Evolved, a mod that I've been developing on and off for a few years now. Newer subscribers to the channel have been wondering what this mod is, and what it aims to achieve, and that's the goal for today's video and the next. Halo Reach Evolved is my own sandbox overhaul of Halo Reach. It was born in December 2018, before the PC version of the Master Chief Collection was announced, so I was modding the Xbox 360 version of Reach using the assembly program, a cache editor made by prominent members of the now defunct Xbox Chaos community. I remember the first two edits I ever made for this mod. I turned the DMR into a battle rifle and made the assault rifle like its Halo 1 counterpart, with 60 round mags and a 15 rounds per second fire rate. Since then, Reach Evolved has come a long way, especially with Firefight. It's more than just a sandbox mod, it's a new experience entirely. In this video, I'll go over my weapons, armor abilities, and vehicles, while part 2 will cover characters, campaign edits, and the Firefight component. I wanted to apologize for how long this video took to come out. While I was writing the script, I was simultaneously working on the mod as well. I wanted to showcase the most up-to-date version of Reach Evolved at the time of this video's posting. I was implementing bug fixes, balance patches, and even whole new features, which ate up a lot of time. I'm ensuring part 2 won't take nearly as long to come out. Anyways, I have a lot to go over, so let's get started. Halo Combat Evolved is not only my favorite Halo game, it's my favorite video game of all time. A big example of why comes from its weapon sandbox. While limited in options, each weapon on offer is unique, with specific traits that let it stand out from its peers. I've gone over why I loved CE's campaign sandbox in this video, so if you want further insight for that, I recommend checking this out. My initial goal for Reach Evolved was to achieve the same for Reach's sandbox, to make each weapon not only more viable, but also have distinct roles. When I first started making Reach Evolved, I was not a fan of the base game's invasion-centric weapon roster. The plasma repeater and needle rifle, for example, were Covenant counterparts to the assault rifle and DMR respectively. A few more examples: the assault rifle itself is underbaked for single player, the plasma rifle and spiker felt like afterthoughts, and the shotgun, despite being better than its Halo 2 and 3 counterparts, is still a bit weak on higher difficulties. Before I discuss the weapons, I want to showcase some global changes I made. Weapon bloom is not entirely cut from Reach Evolved, as it's still present on various automatic weapons. However, I removed it from the precision weapons. Yes, I do know how to pace my shots, I just don't like doing it. I've also increased the frag and plasma grenade counts, now 4 each instead of 2. I always found it odd that Bungie kept the grenade counts to 2 each after they removed the spike and firebomb grenades. That being said, grenade spam was likely the reason for keeping them at 2 each, so I made some adjustments to each grenade to make using them more skillful. Frag grenades no longer airburst, or explode after hitting the ground once. To compensate, I made them slightly more powerful, like a lighter version of Halo 1's frag grenade. The plasma grenades similarly deal more damage, but take longer to explode, now detonating after 2 seconds instead of 1, but that can make them dangerous if you stick an enemy that's close to you. The last global change is player health. In base Reach, players have 70 shield points and 45 health points. They are increased in Reach Evolved, using 75 points for each like in Halo 1. This is not as significant of a jump as it sounds, as higher difficulties will still punish you for bad play. I just wanted to give players some extra leniency against the higher power level of Halo Reach's enemy roster. Let's finally move on to the weapons, starting with the one that began Reach Evolved development, the battle rifle. The model is based off the Halo Reach battle rifle concept art and was modeled by Ludus Regard. Replacing the DMR with a battle rifle has been a controversial change for Reach fans that prefer the DMR. While I don't hate the DMR, and have admittedly warmed up to it in recent years, I always found the battle rifle to be more mechanically interesting, especially since this version takes cues from Halo 3's battle rifle. It's a headshot machine like its mainline counterpart, cutting through unshielded enemies like a knife through butter. However, there's limitations for this weapon. Its wait time between bursts is slightly longer than standard BRs. Its projectile velocity is 300 world units per second. That's 10 times slower than the DMR's 3000 world units per second. Thus, the BR requires shot leading at a distance. I never explain what a world unit is in my videos. A world unit is the in-game equivalent of around 3 meters, so multiply 300 with 3 and the BR's bullets travel approximately 900 meters per second. I did this to incentivize the player to get closer to enemies, as I'm not the biggest fan of how the DMR's role as a mini sniper promoted players to just hang back. One more notable characteristic is the BR's subpar matchup versus shielded elites. Each BR bullet only deals 8 damage, resulting in 24 dealt when all 3 bullets land. However, elites in Reach Evolved have way more health and shields than they do in vanilla. On top of this, on Heroic, enemies gain 20% more health and shields and 40% to both on Legendary. The point is, the BR will struggle versus a healthy elite, and will need other weapons to break the shield for it. Next up is the Assault Rifle. It holds 42 rounds per magazine, and deals more damage and has higher accuracy than in base Reach. For a while, I had the Assault Rifle behave like Combat Evolves, using a 60 round magazine with a wide firing spread and a 15 rounds per second fire rate, but I ran into a problem. With the AR running a more close quarters build, my sandbox lacked a good mid-range automatic. A ranged auto is nice to have to deal consistent damage versus elite shields, something that the battle rifle struggles to do versus tougher elites. The Assault Rifle in base Reach accomplishes this task, and to a greater extent, Halo 3 ODST suppressed SMG. For the modern version of Reach Evolved, I wanted my Assault Rifle to be a middle ground between the Reach Assault Rifle and the ODST SMG in terms of effectiveness. This meant keeping the damage, accuracy, and magazine size higher than base Reach's, but keeping the mag capacity lower than 60. I opted for 42. Those extra 10 rounds give the AR more wiggle room in fights versus tougher opponents and larger squads. 42 rounds is also a reference to when Halo 1's Assault Rifle had 42 round mags in pre-release builds. The accuracy values match Halo 4's AR, getting more consistent hits at mid-range with automatic fire, but requires burst fire for long range. All of these traits gave me the mid-range automatic that I wanted. With all that said, I still held a soft spot for that old 60 round AR. Reverting the current AR back to a slower firing variant meant saying goodbye to the faster version, but I saw an opportunity to have my cake and eat it too. I introduced the SMG. Mechanically, it's almost identical to the old Reach Evolved AR, down to the accuracy and fire rate. It deals 6.5 bullets slow damage per shot, just 1 point lower than the Assault Rifles. That sounds incredibly powerful for a 15 rounds per second weapon. It makes the Assault Rifle look weak in comparison, but there's a large limiting factor for the SMG. Its wide firing spread. It can be used at further range, but it needs careful burst fire. While the AR has it beat at range, CQB is an entirely different story. This is where the wide firing spread benefits the SMG, allowing it to hit multiple unshielded enemies at the same time. This lets it suppress groups of grunts, jackals, and skirmishers more efficiently than the AR can, with the latter being best for one-on-one fights. The last buff was to its spare ammo count, which I doubled to 360. The Reach Magnum also received some changes, leaning more to the secondary precision role I felt it should have. It fires at a slower rate and is more powerful up close than in base Reach. However, the damage falls off to a weaker value than the vanilla pistols. I really like how the Magnum turned out. Despite how simple it is, it's one of my favorites to use, and a big reason for that was the removal of its bloom. It just speeds up the pace of combat and removes randomness from a weapon that should be consistent. The sniper rifle now fires as fast as its Halo 1 and 2 counterparts, but does not deal as much damage to vehicles, but still enough to finish off weakened ones. The fire rate boost is mainly just personal preference. I've always found the Halo 1 and 2 snipers the most fun to use. The main change to the rocket launcher is that now it can lock onto vehicles. With the sniper rifle not as good versus vehicles, and the Spartan laser being a rare sight, the rocket launcher is the main anti-armor UNSC weapon. Moving away from the UNSC weapons for a bit, I want to talk about the plasma repeater. It's such a boring weapon to me. It was made specifically for Invasion, to be a Covenant analog to the assault rifle. This means we have a plasma weapon that does not deal bonus damage to shields, and it's only average versus flesh. What we end up with is something that's more window dressing than weapon. Reach Evolved reinvented the plasma repeater into a new weapon, the Plasma Spate. The Plasma Spate is a 5-round burst weapon that aims to be a mid-range shield stripper. This is not just a Covenant battle rifle, it will not kill with headshots. If the Plasma Spate's mechanics sound familiar, Halo Infinite's pulse carbine is almost exactly like it. The only difference is the plasma spade does not have target tracking plasma. It just has a high red reticle range. This weapon was not based on the pulse carbine. In fact, I made this weapon in January of 2019, well over a year before Halo Infinite's gameplay reveal. It was actually inspired by Gears of War 1's Hammer Burst, a rifle that also fired in long bursts. The focus rifle is also underwhelming. It's Reach's coveted sniper rifle firing a continuous beam at enemies. Not only does it take too long to kill tougher enemies for a supposed power weapon, but getting hit by the beam is obnoxious. Like the plasma spade, it has a new identity entirely: the gravity rifle. The gravity rifle is a cut weapon from Halo Combat Evolved. For Reach Evolved, the gravity rifle takes cues from Halo 4 and 5's railgun, a charging weapon that fires a powerful shot. The charge-up sequence's sound and particle effects give players a window of time to react to an incoming shot. The gravity rifle's bolt also takes some time to reach its target, unlike the beam rifles, but it's still fast enough, and the following impact has a ton of knockback, so even if the user misses, the target's disrupted by the concussive blast. One of my pet peeves about Reach revolves around the concussion rifle. It's one of those enemy weapons that is more lethal to the player than it is to the enemy. For being such a powerful weapon, it was also annoying how common it was amongst high-ranking elites, with even officers using them. Reach Evolved not only modified the concussion rifle itself, but also how the enemies used it, and changed its users. Elites no longer use the concussion rifle, now being used by brute captains and skirmisher champions. Enemies also fire it slower for more breathing room in fights, but still at a fast enough rate to be a threat. The concussion rifle itself deals much more damage now, but only on direct impacts, promoting shot accuracy. Its AoE is much more concussive, disrupting squad formations, and even offering a boost jump for better positioning. Instead of the concussion rifle, specific elites in the campaign now use the plasma caster. Reach Evolved's plasma caster is a prototype that'll eventually become the Halo 5 version, and therefore, it's not mass produced yet. Standard shots fire small plasma grenades that bounce on any surface, while charged shots are more powerful and stick to anything, even jackal shields, but cost 3 grenades to fire. Next, we have the needle rifle, which received a dramatic facelift. With the DMR no longer in the sandbox, the needle rifle takes up the mini sniper role. Its zoom level is boosted to 4 times, and deals much more damage per shot, at the cost of magazine size and a slower fire rate. Now we have the brute weapons. In Reach, there's only the Spiker and Gravity Hammer. While the latter is still pretty strong, the former was mediocre, dealing more damage to shields than to health. I believe this was done in fear of having a health shredder fight alongside shield strippers like the plasma pistol, but I don't think this would have been an issue. Reach Evolved Spiker is much more viable now. It, along with the rest of the brute weapons, have boosted melee damage. This trait makes brute weapons very desirable for the black eye waves in the mod's Firefight component. Beyond melee, the damage multipliers for its spikes are the inverse of Vanilla's, now dealing better health damage but less to shields. A visual feature on the Reach Spiker was heat generation, but it never made a difference in gameplay. Now, as the Spiker builds up heat, its rate of fire slows down, overheating once it gets too hot. One of the 2 new brute weapons is the Brute Plasma Spade. The model was made by Ludus Regard, and textured by Mike. The Brutes modified the standard Plasma Spade to include a bayonet, fire in full auto, and increased damage, melting through jackal shields and armored targets. However, these additions hurt its accuracy and battery life, offering 100 bolts with a wide firing spread. One more new brute weapon is the Mauler, exclusively used by brute stalkers. It's more powerful than its Halo 3 counterpart now that dual wielding is not in the game. It has extended range, but the damage range drop-off is massive, so getting up close is recommended. With boosted melee damage, this will decimate most enemies at close range. The fuel rod gun now mostly behaves like its Halo 1 counterpart from Gearbox PC, with a wide firing spread, arcing projectiles, and can overheat. However, unlike the Gearbox port, it does not have a battery, using 4-round clips instead. I implemented the overheating mechanic to prevent trigger spam, and the 4-round clips as that's what Halo 1's campaign fuel rod gun uses. I wanted to make a hybrid of both Halo 1 Xbox and PC's fuel rod gun. The rest of the weapons I'll mention did not receive drastic changes, so I'll go over them in quick succession. The shotgun has better range and accuracy, continuously fires while the trigger is held like in Halo 1, and uses blue sights like in Halo 1 and the Reach beta. What can I say, blue is my favorite color. The grenade launcher's EMP shot has a wider radius and deals more shield damage. The plasma rifle has faster bolts, and uses a Halo 1 and 2 style heat meter, courtesy of Shawn T. The Needler can super combine on energy shields and hunter armor now, but its initial fire rate was made slower. The plasma pistol was nerfed quite a bit, but is still an excellent damage dealer. It has some damage range fall off now, and each shot drains more battery. This will allow the other plasma weapons to have their niches over the plasma pistol, but this will remain one of the best anti-shield options in the game. The Spartan laser deals more shield damage and has 5 shots per battery like in Halo 3. The plasma launcher has been rebuffed to be like its Halo Reach beta counterpart, with instant lock-ons and a further red reticle range. Finally, both the machine gun and plasma turrets are on par with their Halo 3 predecessors in terms of damage. Support weapons in general allow slightly faster movement, but still slower than standard weapons, and controller players have quicker aim now. Let's shift our focus to armor abilities, which are fundamentally different now. A long time ago, I cut them from Reach Evolved entirely, because I was not a fan of armor abilities when I started developing this mod. Nowadays, I reintroduced them, but have them work like Halo 3's equipment. They're limited in usage now, and can drop from dead players. Let's start with everyone's favorite topic of discussion for Halo Discourse, Sprint. It's completely transformed in Reach Evolved. Now called Speed Boost, it offers the player a movement speed increase for 15 seconds. Next up is Armor Lock, which has transformed into Power Fist. Instead of hunkering down for a few seconds, the user punches the ground and immediately gets back up, causing a powerful EMP shockwave that pushes enemies away. Jetpacks now have 10 charges. Whenever you press the equipment key, that expends a charge, and holding it for a few seconds will use up another charge. The other armor abilities received simpler changes. Active Camo makes the user more invisible, has its radar jammer effect removed, and there's no audio filter when using it. Hologram and Evade now have 3 charges each, with the latter actually appearing in the campaign. Lastly, drop shields are twice as durable, since they are now single-use items. While not an armor ability, I wanted to mention the Overshield. It's not present in the standard campaign, but they are in Reach Evolved as hidden items. If you can find one, it'll offer you 2 layers of overshielding. Vehicles can blow up regardless of the pilot's own health, and because vehicles did not include health bars in this game, you never know exactly when you'd perish. To offer more information, your HUD displays a health percentage indicator whenever you drive a vehicle. If Halo CE did this for its Covenant vehicles, I felt Reach should do it too. 2 Covenant vehicles even have weak energy shields now, with their levels also displayed in the HUD. One of these is the Ghost. Reach Evolved's Ghost fires as fast as Halo 2's Ghost and deals more damage, but has a wider firing spread. This is a trend for this mod's vehicles. Most people dislike Halo 1's inaccurate vehicle weapons, from the Ghost guns to the Banshees, to the gambling simulator that is the Scorpion's weapons. I actually think this concept is genius, even though the Scorpion took it a bit far. Instead of just playing a point-and-click simulator with perfect accurate vehicle weapons, Bungie encouraged players to move closer to their enemies. This is especially true for Reach Evolved's Ghost. I did not want players sitting back with it, and now that it has a weak shield, players should feel comfortable enough to get close. The other shielded vehicle is the Banshee. Reach's Banshee is one of my least favorites in the series. Not because it's bad, but the opposite. It's way too strong. Its bomb is overpowered, especially when combined with its fast tricks. I still want the Banshee to be good in Reach Evolved, but in more interesting ways than an OP bomb. The first step was nerfing the bomb. It's a lot weaker now, and can no longer track enemy vehicles, but to compensate, the projectile is faster. The Banshee's primary weapon fires 2 bolts simultaneously like in Halo 1. To prevent the guns from being too strong, each individual bolt lost 3 points of damage, so when both hit a target, it would result in 50% more damage dealt than a single vanilla bolt. The most important difference comes from its flying mechanics. They mirror ODST's Banshee, letting it hover in place. This results in a Banshee that's an amalgamation of the CE, ODST, and Reach Banshees. Next is the Wraith. Its new addition was simple. 2 secondary plasma cannons just like its Halo 2 counterpart. You switch to it from the mortar, and it too is now accurate from a distance. If you want to hit your targets, you gotta move in close. Then there's the shade turrets. There's usually no reason to use these, so when I implemented them as buyables in Firefight Corvette, I made them better. The standard shade simply hits harder and has faster projectiles. The fuel rod shade is also stronger, but it's upgraded to track any enemy, including infantry. The anti-air shade was finally made usable, but it's blatantly OP in its vanilla form. Still wanted it to be really strong, so I made it overheat after extended use. The Spirit and Phantom dropship turrets got a makeover. The Spirit dropship's turret more closely resembles its CE counterpart, firing 3 smaller plasma bolts per shot. The Phantom turret is more like Halo 2 and 3's. The projectiles are no longer concussive, but still have a small AoE. And the last Covenant vehicle is the Revenant. The original was boring to me, just a fusion of the Ghost and Wraith. I felt we didn't need a second mortar-based vehicle, so I opted for a mobile flamethrower instead. Enter the Apparition, one of my favorite modding creations of all time. It plays a unique role in being a somewhat close-quarters combat vehicle. While the Apparition's flames have further range than most video game flamethrowers, it's best used up close. It deals tremendous shield damage, even melting jackal shields on contact, and the flames latch on and deal residual damage for a few seconds. The Apparition is good versus armored targets too. For example, it can cook Wraith pilots from the inside. A bit of lore surrounding the Apparition is that every pilot is a jetpack elite, and the surrounding grunts wear protective gear. In part 2 of this overview, I'll go more in depth on these enemies. Moving on to the human vehicles, we have the Gauss and Rocket Warthogs. I felt the Gauss turret was too strong, so I nerfed its projectile velocity to match its Halo 2 counterparts. The Rocket Hog turret, on the other hand, received a major transformation. Not only can it lock onto ground vehicles now, its firing method is different. It fires 2 rockets per trigger pull instead of 6, and holding the trigger adds more to the burst. You can fire in 2, 4, or 6 rocket bursts depending on the trigger pull duration. I did this because the original Rocket Hog turret was sort of a death trap up close, causing a lot of splash damage to your own Warthog. Instead of a support gunner seat, the Scorpion has a Halo 1 and 2 style coaxial gun. Like its Halo 1 counterpart, the machine gun is inaccurate, but not to the extent of Halo 1's accuracy values. The main cannon also has a longer cooldown now that the coaxial gun is implemented. The last vehicle I'll talk about is the Falcon, which got a simple change. Its chin gun no longer fires in bursts, and is now fully automatic. However, its 2 drawbacks include a wide firing spread and overheating after extended use. This applies to the Pelican's chin gun as well. This was a personal preference change for me, as I wasn't a fan of its burst fire. It feels a lot more visceral firing full auto. And with that, Part 1 of this extensive overview of Halo Reach Evolved is complete. Stay tuned for Part 2, where I talk about the friendly and enemy AI, some of the campaign edits, and my ambitious take on Reach's Firefight mode. If, and only if, you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, leave a comment on your thoughts on Reach Evolved, subscribe for more Halo content from this channel, and ring the bell to never miss an upload. I'd like to thank my patrons, as well as my Needler Gang YouTube members, for further supporting the channel. Your voluntary support is highly appreciated, and I love each and every one of you. This is the Vengeful Vatum. Always remember that you matter more than you think you do, and I'll see you on the great journey.